I grew up on a working class estate in Brighton. We were poor, man. We were
Really?
There were times where we would sit in the dark because we didn't have 50p for the meter. I mean, it was in the early 80s.
Wow.
We would, mate. I remember literally having an OXO cube for dinner one day. So we wanted to go to the cinema. Oh, I don't know. Can we afford the cinema? Can you afford the cinema? I think that's nuts to say out loud.
Yeah.
That's it. I've had enough. The mini budget was yesterday. The rich are getting richer while we're the ones paying the bill. Food, fuel, heating, energy, water, all gone up. Next thing you know, we've made like a few thousand in a month. It was nuts. So we just snowballed. Our Amazon selling, our Amazon got more and more and more and more, and that went up the nice path. Then, brand deals, the mentorship. I wrote an ebook that sold well, and it just kept on building and building and building. And next thing you know, we've made like a few thousand in a month. It was nuts.
So, Des, welcome to the Make It Big podcast.
Thank you very much. Honestly, buzzing to be here.
Yeah,
Really
it's
glad.
exciting, mate. Yeah, we had a little pre-chat beforehand as well, so we're warmed up nicely.
This is it. I've had my coffee, got my water, ready to go.
Yeah, we got it. Cool. Mate, so some people don't know who you are. Some people do know who you are. You know, some people living under rocks. They haven't seen you all over all over socials and your amazing podcast and everything. But you're the guy that turned £200 into 100,000 in a pretty short space of time, building up all these online incomes and everything like that. But just talk us through that journey in your own words, just to set the scene. So what was life like before? I want to roll all the way back. What was life like before you started this challenge?
Yeah.
And then how did you end up turning £200 into 100,000? Talk us through the whole journey.
It's lovely when you hear someone else say it. Honestly, I feel like I've said it to death so much. When someone else says it, you go, yeah, I did. It was crazy. Right, let's go right back to the beginning. I suppose it all depends on where you say the beginning is. There's been so many parts of my life. I'm in my 40s, so I've had so many beginnings in my life that I felt were pivotal moments in me starting the challenge. I suppose the best place to start is my wife and I got married, and we got married New Year's Eve 2021. Lockdown had finished. It was the first big party we all had. Really good. We did an overnight thing. It was lovely. But she was a secondary school teacher at the time. So getting married on New Year's Eve, we went away, but she had to be back for something like the 3rd of January. So we only went away for a couple of nights. So we went up to Edinburgh. Nice. Had a couple of nights up there. I love Edinburgh. I love Scotland.
Yeah, I'm going there this Christmas.
Oh, you? Oh, mate, jealous. One of my favourite places in the world. Really, one of the best cities in the world. Yeah. Anyway, we're sitting in the airport coming home, and we're talking about the finances, and we're talking about New Year's resolutions, and we realise we've just got no money, and we realise it's been a tap Chinese water syndrome torture.
How long
Chinese
ago was this?
water torture syndrome. That's it.
Yeah.
This was this was been first week of 2022.
Okay.
And we're like, what's going on here? She was a secondary school teacher. I was a public servant. I was a civil servant, so I worked in the public sector.
Yeah.
Both educated, both done all the things, mortgage, kids, all of that stuff. And you're thinking, what is going on here? Why has our money slowly deteriorated over the last, well, we got together in 2018. The last 4 years that we knew each other, just things got worse, even though we weren't doing anything out of the ordinary. The holidays had disappeared, nicer things. We wanted to go to the cinema. Oh, I don't know, can we afford the cinema? Can you afford the cinema? I think that's nuts to say out loud.
Yeah.
So we went, right, we got to do something about it. So she said, right, I'm going to look for paid surveys, mystery shopping, the classic side hustles, you know. And I went, well, I've heard about this Amazon FBA thing. I had a course gifted to me for like a £10 rubbish little course, and it was all on passive income.
Udemy sort of course.
Yeah, exactly, that sort of thing. And I watched this thing, and it was essentially a private label course. But it made me open my eyes to what Amazon could do. Before that, Amazon was just somewhere you bought stuff. I didn't know there were third-party sellers. I didn't even know the term third-party seller, for God's sake. So I went, right, I'm going to research this. And from January through to September, I just went down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and I learned as much as I possibly could about e-commerce, reselling, eBay, Amazon, the lot, the various models. And I did it through YouTube. Anything for free. I didn't pay for a thing, did it all. And then I found a couple of accounts that I thought, you know what, that's good. And you could see these people's journey. You could see the challenges they went through. And as I'm watching these things, I'm thinking, you know what, I could document my journey as well. I've always been a talker, drama school when I was a kid and all that stuff. I was the kid in all the school stage plays. Every job I've had, I've always been the one that stands up and speaks. And I thought, well, why don't I document it as well? So we'll get going. And we genuinely had £100 or £200 to spare that we could throw into this thing. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do that, I can't afford private label. I can't get into wholesale because I haven't got the infrastructure. I can't afford the stock for something big and varied. It would have to be used books and retail arbitrage to get going, off the back of Emma Hamilton, the Amazon Dream. And then just started getting used to talking into a camera. We went on holiday in August down to Cornwall, and I'm sitting in the caravan park and I'm talking to myself, just getting used to content delivery. And I went and figured out what audience I wanted. I went and figured out my business plan, my personal branding. And I thought, right, I know who I'm going to show up as. I know what business model I've got. Let's go. And we went that way. And it started off with £100. But my first tranche of products, which was Win-A-Lot dog food and Ron Seal paint, which I have no idea how I've got no idea how I didn't fail for a hazmat. I got paint, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But they went so well. Proof of concept was in. And I said to Claire, give us another £100 and we'll do £200. And I ran the numbers thinking if I put 30% on it for 2 years, I'll have £100,000 by the end of 2 years. I didn't think that the documentation would generate money. I thought I would build some sort of platform, but I hadn't really given any thought to affiliate marketing or sponsorship deals.
You thought it was all going to come from e-commerce?
Yeah. And it's only about 3-4 months in, all of a sudden people were literally just like handing me money for this branding. And it sort of blew my mind.
So how did you get to the 100,000 then? Was it a mix of affiliates, sponsorships, Amazon? Just talk us through that, how you actually reached that goal.
Yeah. So the first few months was Amazon, purely Amazon FBA. And then everything that I was doing, I was showing like what I was doing. I was talking about cash flow problems. I was talking about the other challenges that you have mentally trying to spin these plates. And I think it was the Christmas Boxing Day sales when I did a post in Boots talking about these Sonic lights. Now I think it's got just under 1 million views, but it blew up. And I jumped from like 8 to 25,000 overnight.
TikTok?
On TikTok, yeah. Incredible.
Wow. You did just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It blew up. Yeah.
I had like 4 viral posts in like the first 3 months. It was nuts. It was nuts. And then we were talking earlier, Al Colton from Celleramp.
Yeah.
He reached out and said, I'm in the UK. You've popped up on my algorithm. Let's have a chat. Source Mogul, David from Source Mogul, he rang me out and said, let's have a chat. Luke Colwell got in touch and said, I can put you in touch with that person, and we can drive your software costs down. And before you know it, my expenses have gone down and my income streams have gone up. Then I reached a threshold on YouTube. I got an email from them saying, well done, you've got 1,000 subscribers, you've got, I can't remember, was it 400 hours viewed?
4,000.
4,000, that's it, yeah. Now you can earn. I'm like, what the hell? So I started doing that, and then I started getting brand deals. So I started getting paid to post on TikTok. As we speak now, one's gone out today on Profit Cyclops. That's a new sponsor that's come on. Affiliate marketing became a thing. And then people were contacting me saying, can you mentor me? I find you relatable. You're the sort of bloke that I'd want to learn from. Can you teach me a course? And one of the things that I didn't tell anyone, because I knew it's such a toxic environment, is I was a qualified trainer. And I thought, you know what, I could do a course. My wife was a secondary school teacher, like I said.
Yeah.
Between us, we could knock up a really good course. So we started knocking that up, selling it for like £150, not much at all. And next thing you know, we've made like a few thousand in a month. It was nuts. So we just snowballed. Our Amazon selling, our Amazon got more and more and more and more, and that went up the nice path. 30% wasn't quite right. After about 6 months, it kind of dipped to about 20-ish. Once we started scaling up with OOA at that point. Then, yeah, brand deals, the mentorship. I wrote an ebook that sold well, and it just kept on building and building and building.
So how long did it take you from the £200 to £100,000 in total?
21 and a half months.
21 and a half
Yeah,
months.
it was a 2-year challenge, and we knocked it out by the end of July.
Wow. So there's a lot of people watching this right now that are in the position that you were in before.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of like couples or families, and they're just fed up. They're fed up with the way the government is. They're fed up with the way, you know, the cost of living's going up, supermarkets, everything's so expensive these days, isn't it? You walk in there, you can't leave without spending 30 quid. You've got 2 bits of bread and a bit of milk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crazy. For someone in that situation, like, there must have been a breaking point for you. You know, was there something that just flicked you over the edge and like, you know, that made you jump? You know, I just want to talk to that person that feels like they should jump, but they're scared to jump. You know,
Yeah.
was there a certain time, a certain moment that made you jump?
It's a really good question. It was that conversation. It was one of those where Claire and I will look back and we'll remember the seats we were sat on at the departures at Edinburgh Airport. We had our Burger King because there's nothing in the Edinburgh Airport to do. So we had our Burger King waiting for our flight. And we were just talking about what's coming down the track. Our boy has a birthday in February. We've got another boy who's got a birthday in March. Then there's Easter and there's all these things. And we were just saying, right, well, we can't afford to do anything there. We can't afford to do anything there. Because one of the things we wanted was a proper honeymoon. We still haven't had it. And we realised we can't afford a holiday. And we're like, we need more money. And then, you know what it's like? You're seeing, around New Year, you're seeing penny saving challenges. You're seeing, why don't you do this to redo your year?
Stuff that's going to save you money but not make you money. And
That's
set you
it.
up.
Yeah. But it was one of those. I knew I was going to go live at a certain point, and the thing that made me actually go live was the Liz Truss, the mini budget that happened. That was September 2022. I knew I was going to go live before Q4, but I had that budget and I just had enough. And I literally sat in my kitchen, I pressed record and said, "That's it." So if you go back to the very first post I did,
YouTube or TikTok?
On TikTok,
Yeah.
very first post, I went, right, that's it, I've had enough. The mini budget was yesterday. The rich are getting richer while we're the ones paying the bill. Food, fuel, heating, energy, water, all gone up. And the thing is now, as bad as it was in 2022, it's worse now.
Yeah. It's even worse. Yeah.
But that was it for me. I went, that's it. I've had enough. It's just ridiculous. We're working. I'm not seeing the kids very much. 2 of my kids, I only see them after time anyway because they're with my ex-wife. If I'm only seeing them after time, I'm still not seeing them enough. I need to do more to get my time back. I need to do more to get that. There was that period in lockdown for the first few months when you realise how much you loved your family because you were home all the time.
Yeah.
I'd had 2 kids and I had like 2 weeks off for paternity leave and then I had to go back to work. So I saw him for 2 weeks and then that was it. I'd see him for a few hours a day. Nothing like first thing in the morning, last thing at night.
You were just fed up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
insane, man. But then the lockdown happened and our third born was born and I was home every day. And then they went, well, you got to go back into the office. I'm allowed to swear on this one? I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
And I thought, well, fuck that. I'm not going back into the office. I'll get to be at home with my family. So I think lockdown affected me more than I knew at the time. I liked being home. I liked seeing my family more. So I needed to, the first goal, as well as the challenge, the first goal was replicate Claire's wage. Because if we could replicate Claire's wage, she doesn't have to go back to being a secondary school teacher after maternity, which we did. So Claire quit her job in May. And then the second one was replicate my wage, and we can build from that. So in my little chart through my Amazon list, it was around about month 15 with my naive brain that if we spent about 20 grand on stock, we should be putting about 5 grand out. No, not even that, more like 30 grand. But that was me not knowing business. And of course, you take 5 grand a month out of any cash flow, and that's your growth fucked, isn't it?
That's what a lot of people don't talk about of e-commerce, especially. Yeah.
Because people don't
stock-based
talk about
business.
this cash flow. It's all like, I want to go up and I quit my job. Well, it's not enough to be making 3 grand a month. What happens if you took that out of your business each month? It hurts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That. What I want to understand is the first few steps that you took, because I know what it feels like. I've never had a family and struggled or anything like that in that situation, but I remember when I was living at home in my mum's bedroom and stuff like that, and had nothing to. All my friends were starting to succeed in jobs and everything like that, and I didn't really have like my own business going well. I was like working in a coffee shop at the time. I was like, what is going on here? Do you know what I mean? But I was looking at the steps in front of me, and it just looked like a mountain. A massive mountain that I had to climb to go and figure out the first few steps and like the confidence to do that. Like, what were the very first few steps that you took? You know, I want to talk to that person that's also just starting out.
Yeah.
Scared to take that jump, you know?
Most importantly, I knew I broke down my goals so much so that it was literally 1 week to the next.
Right, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, I had this 2-year challenge, but if you look at the way I did it, I had this 2-year challenge, but I broke it down into 24 months.
Right.
So I knew what my month 1 goal was. I knew what my month 2 goal was. And what I would do at the middle of each month was go, right, am I on track to meet that goal? And if not, pivot, double down, put more hours in, take my foot off, whatever I needed to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first few months was purely that. I'm learning the ropes. I've done my theory, whatever that was. But when you actually do the job is when you actually learn it, isn't it? So right, I'm going out. What does sourcing looking like? At the time, I was using Source Mogul. I was doing some reverse sourcing, but for the first couple of months, did I use a lead list? No, I got a discount for the aftermarket arbitrage boys. So I had access to a lead list, but I quickly learned the pitfalls of a lead list in a Discord. So I would use that for theory, not necessarily leads. I would find something like a Funko Pop from a leads list, but then I would go on the Funko Pop website and try and find other bargains that way.
Yeah.
So that was my sourcing methods. And I knew I just needed to make those better and refine them. My mantra at the time was I knew I was going to be working my hardest and my longest for the least amount of money. And if you're going to speak to someone who's just getting going, they need to know that. When someone puts a post on about a deal they found and you'll get some sausage go, oh, well done, you've made £1.50 that hour. Yeah, you have. But it's £1.50 you never had and you've learned something. It matters. Yeah, it matters. So I really honed down on that, knowing that it was pennies and I was learning. But as long as I hit my 30% of £200, only £60. All I had to do was make £60 that first month. And that was a success because I got through there. Oh, and I had about 3,000 followers on TikTok, which was nuts. You know, that's month one. And then month two was right. Okay, what's 30% of 260? Oh, blimey. Is 60, 72 quid, something like that. Yeah, so I knew that I had to make that and keep just rinse and repeat.
So it was then baby steps.
It really was.
Because what people struggle with, because I used to really struggle with this, is setting a goal, sticking with it for 2 or 3 months, starting them steps, and then just you're not seeing enough momentum. As you said, look, maybe £1.20, £1.60, whatever, and then they just give up just before they hit the gold. You know.
Yeah.
How did you get through that? Because I feel like you may have more confidence than you realise.
Yeah, I think
especially
so.
Especially you're happy to go out there on the socials. You know what I mean? You had all this confidence, not just the confidence to do stuff, but the confidence, that inner belief and confidence to figure out exactly, you know how long you've got to just keep going until you're going to see it. You didn't expect it overnight, and I feel that's where a lot of people go wrong. You know,
yeah,
they expect it.
I think so, mate. I think so. I do back my intelligence. I do consider myself that. So when I'm reading data, I know that I'm reading data all right. I'm not making mistakes. There's been times where I thought, right, I'm going to pick that up. I think I even did a post on this when I found some the Dolce Gusto coffee pods, and I literally had them on the checkout at Lidl, just about to buy them, and I thought something's not right here, and I checked the picture and it was a multi-pack. Oh no! So I got rid of those.
Yeah.
But what really helped was, so I started in September. Month 2 and 3 were the depths of quarter 4. So my selling, it was like fishing with dynamite, when especially a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Found some Guy Leon chocolates and that absolutely flew out. But yeah, I knew I could tell a story. I've always been quite good at that. But what was really nice, the momentum from the socials was going so well. It was one of those where I was instantly accountable to now thousands of people. So it wasn't just a case. And I've really been feeling this these last couple of weeks, Hayden, truth be told.
Go on.
I've really been feeling the pressure that if it goes wrong, I'm not just failing my family. There's about 100,000 people that are invested in my journey now. I've only really acknowledged the pressure that has been. And for the first few months, it was more excitement, I suppose, than burden. So I had to keep going. Everything was going well. If I carried on doing this, I'd be making money. And if I carried on making money, these numbers will go up. And if those numbers go up, then more opportunities coming through. And it just started snowballing. So I was head down, just the concept had been proven. So I was right, get on with it. And I started this Facebook community at the same time. So we had a bunch, and I called it my online group of newbie money makers. And we wanted to help other online money newbie makers. So we did it in Facebook because it was free. And I quickly came to realise that around about 2 to 3 months is round about the time the honeymoon period's over, isn't it? All of your free trials have got... Yeah. For any Amazon seller's journey, the free trials have gone. All of a sudden, they start seeing the Amazon struggles, hazmat, gating, cash flow, the account reserve. all of this stuff is enough. They're price tanking, perfect.
All that stuff.
And they start thinking, oh, is it for me after all? You've got to get through that.
That bit there.
Yeah, that 2 to 3 month sting.
Yeah, where you're halfway up the mountain.
Yeah, and it's boring. And your other half don't get it, and you're sat at a computer spending all your time while they're indoors wondering why you're not watching the programs with them like you used to. And you're sitting there and you go, nope, I've got to make this work for what is 25p, you know?
Yeah.
It's that is the thing that kills people quickly on Amazon selling.
Yeah. So how did you get through that?
Well, again, it was just, I knew the socials was going so well. And it was around about that time when I started getting the validation from Al and David and Luke and you, mate. We met up early in the year, didn't we?
Yeah. Just when it was starting to pop for you, actually.
It was, yeah. It was that sort of stuff. And it frightened me at the time because all of you were going, yeah, you're going to make it. You're definitely going to make it. You're doing this. And I'm sitting there's a person inside me going, well, I might not.
You'd already made it in my head. I was like, oh, he's good. He's popping. You know what I mean?
It's
But you
nuts.
don't think someone's on their own journey there and they're still struggling mentally sometimes to
This is it, mate.
persevere. And yeah.
And I think what I've realised lately as well is I grew up on a working class estate in Brighton. We were poor, man.
Really?
There were times where we would sit in the dark because we didn't have 50p for the meter. I mean,
Wow.
it was in the early 80s.
Wow.
We would, yeah, mate. I remember literally having an OXO cube for dinner one day.
Wow.
If there was blackouts, we were playing cards by the cup with candles on. It was like bleeding Victorian times, you know. We had the same sandwiches every day because we could only afford one variety of sandwich. I used to sell my sandwiches sometimes if I wanted sweets. I saw poverty, I saw poorness in practical terms. So when I'm sitting in my kitchen that still hasn't been done, talking about my loft that still hasn't been finished, wearing the same clothes now that I was wearing a couple of years ago, I haven't seen the success yet. And I think I'm still struggling to come to the terms with the fact that I am a success. Bloody hell, man. Just to hear you say that I completed the challenge, it still felt like an out-of-body thing. And I'm just coming to terms now. I need to do more work in feeling worthy. And I don't think I'm there yet.
There's something, this may sound a bit funny, but there's something so beautiful about your journey and like, I'm struggling to put my finger on it, but there's something really special about you and your journey. There's a reason why everyone resonates with you, why you suddenly got so many, TikTok followers, why you got so many in the Facebook group, why you got so many on the YouTube. As I say, there's something beautiful about the journey that people are resonating with you because you haven't been long out of being where they were at all. And I think maybe it's because it took you so long and self-reflection from the age of, how old were you when you were, you said that you had an OXO cube for dinner?
Oh, mate, 7, 6, 7.
7. And how old were you when you started the challenge? When you said
42.
So it took you
35 years.
35 years to take that jump. And I think that's what that's what people are feeling, like this isn't just an overnight thing. You weren't 17, 18, like, buying and selling stuff at school. I don't think you might have, I don't think. You didn't have the entrepreneurial bug from the start, but you built it over frustration. You built it of frustration and just that desire to have to change your life. That's what's resonating with people, I think. Why did it take you 35 years to jump?
It's a great question. It's a great question. There's loads of things that I've been unpicking, and I even went to therapy to try and unpick that. Going back to that earlier version of me, the things that I used to do, I've always been the guy. If I fell into a snake pit, I'd come out wearing the snakeskin shoes. I've always been that guy that can get himself out of trouble with a mouth. Not manipulative or deceptive, but I call it charismatic.
It's a massive skill as well.
Mate, yeah. I don't know how I've done it, but I've always been able to read people, always been able to read a room. And every job I had, even in the police, I was the person that they would go in to tell someone to put a knife down, to tell them to get off the cliff. Then I became the person that would interview rape victims, murderers, the specialist stuff. And then even when I took my civil servant job, I was the guy they would send into boardrooms. Even though I'm a working class guy, I could still relate to wealthy people. I could still relate to everyone up and down the spectrum, left and right, it doesn't matter. And it's amazing how when I started this e-commerce thing, it was that seemed to stand me out again. And even though I'm a reseller and I'm learning e-commerce, what's actually got me where I've got me is my mouth, it seems. And there's something there's something in there that I do that allows people in. When I went to therapy, I think one of the biggest factors was when I was 26, my bowel ruptured. And I've not really spoken about this. I had a colostomy bag, diverticulitis.
26.
Yeah, 26 years old. I got told that I was about 3 hours away from the leakages in my intestine going into my blood and causing sepsis. That would have been game over. But I think that was a massive turning point for me. It was amazing when I went to therapy. She didn't put me under. It wasn't like hypnosis, but she started talking to me, closed my eyes, and she started saying, right, who are you seeing now? And all of a sudden, I was in that bed, and that was me. And I was talking to the 42-year-old version of me. And the 42-year-old version of me was telling the hospital bed me, everything's going to be all right. You're going to be this person that you deserve to be. Mate, and I came out of this thing, floods of tears, right? The old stereotypical mental breakthrough, you know.
Wow.
I was gone. This was the first session with this lady. She must have thought, who is this guy? But that was a bit of an awakening.
You were 26 then?
Yeah. So I kind of feel like that guy needs looking after and being told, look, what is actually achievable. Because I wonder, mate, how much I'd just been floating along in a system, knowing I could do more, but choosing not to. Looking back, I should have started a long time beforehand. And I don't know whether it was Claire, my wife, who brought it out of me. It might have been.
When did you meet her?
2018, so I was 38.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I read a self-reflective book when I was married to my first wife, and that changed my life and made me look at things in a different way. The book is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Brilliant book, really good. It made me start looking at manifestation and law of attraction, something I've never looked at before.
Yeah.
And it made me realise that I wasn't happy and that I needed to change things for me. And that meant leaving my wife and sacrificing half my time with my kids.
Leaving your...
Yeah, because I have my wife and my two kids, and I thought if I leave my wife here, I'm giving up the daily time that I have with my kids as well, you know. Because of course, you're not just leaving your wife, you're leaving your family.
That must have been so tough.
It was tough, and I had to come to terms with that, knowing that I would be a better dad. Away, I'd be a happier person and a better dad for those kids. It would be better for them not to see their dad this way. And it came true, mate. I'm a better dad now than I ever was. But I had to come to terms with that. And then I met Claire. And goes back to what Simon Squibb talks about. I don't think I believed in my own purpose enough until I was married to Claire and I had a reason to fight. And I wonder whether subconsciously that's what it was.
I was just going to say that. How old were you when you took that leap to leave your ex-wife?
38. Sorry, 37. So I left 2017. I met Claire in March 2018. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that therapy session, that big breakthrough you had, you were 35, and then you left your wife when you were 37.
So 26. No, yeah, so 26 when that happened. But
26.
Yeah, so I recovered, and then I met my wife.
Then you met your wife.
Yeah.
And then you progressively. So what I see, you had the breakthrough, but then you had you took a big jump there, you know, to leave what you thought was your family, but it wasn't your family. To leave your family must be a real hard jump to do that. And then you met Claire, who inspired you to, I guess, you know, to chase your dreams or whatever. Maybe she was more inspiring towards you. And then you took the big leap and said, right, I've had enough of my work. And then you jumped into that. It was like you were taking these progressive leaps, you know?
I think so.
And once again, I think that's why you resonate, because you had to pluck the courage up and up and up and up. But once you got there, you were all in.
Yeah.
You know? It was like winding up like a car.
Yeah.
Car.
I did a TikTok on this the other day because I listened to a song and I listened to the lyrics and I thought, bloody hell, that's so true. There's a Snow Patrol song, one of the best songs of the year, hands down, called The Beginning. And there's a bit where he says, there was nothing for me in these past lives. There is only what I wasn't yet.
Wow.
And that's it, isn't it? The stuff where you look back and you go, should I have started then? Should I have started then? The fact is, no, there was nothing for me then. I wasn't ready then. The 42-year-old me, that's the one. and it needed to be that one. There was nothing for me in the past lives. There was only what I wasn't yet. And I'm a person now at 42 that is so much more than the versions of me in the past.
Wow.
I doubt they would have made it because I doubt they would have had the same drive.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching part 1. Now, part 2, if you're waiting for that, will be released next Thursday in the morning sometime. That was part 1. Make sure you tune in next Thursday for part 2. If you're watching this in a couple of weeks' time when it's already been released, go and find it. It will be part 2 right next to this video if you scroll down in the selection on the profile. Now, if you're watching this on Spotify, please make sure you follow the show so you get tuned in, so we can let you know, notify you of the new podcast. If you're on YouTube, same thing there. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Love you all very, very much. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all soon.